What does it mean to be a part of a community? Well, let me take you to a quiet, close-knit neighborhood that's part of the Grumpy George's Chronicles. It's a place where the residents have recently discovered the importance of safety and community, establishing a neighborhood watch. And at the heart of this story we find George, our grumbler, who wasn't initially thrilled about the idea of nosy neighbors poking around. But when his granddaughter Susan enthusiastically signed them up, he begrudgingly agreed to participate. Fast forward to the neighborhood watch meeting at Mrs. Patterson's classroom, where a diverse group of neighbors gathered around freshly baked cookies. George scowled at the cookies, but he couldn't resist the temptation and took one. The neighborhood watch coordinator, Mr. Thompson, an active police officer, stood at the front of the classroom, ready to brief everyone on their duties. As Mr. Thompson shared tips on recognizing suspicious activities and organizing regular patrols, Susan raised her hand enthusiastically. Their first night on patrol arrived, and George and Susan set out with flashlights in hand. The stillness of the night enveloped the neighborhood, with only the occasional rustling of leaves breaking the silence. Their senses were heightened, eyes scanning the darkness, ears alert to every sound. Susan's youthful vigor contrasted starkly with George's grumbling demeanor, yet they made quite the pair. "George, why are we doing this again?" Susan asked, her voice echoing slightly in the quiet night. George mumbled something about community safety and his darn TV show he was missing. As they continued their walk, a flickering light caught their attention. It was coming from Mr. Jenkins's backyard. Approaching with caution, they found him struggling with his barbecue grill. His face lit up with relief upon seeing them. "Oh, thank heavens you're here. I can't get this darn grill to work, and I was afraid I'd starve." George grunted and rolled up his sleeves. Together, they managed to get the grill working, and Mr. Jenkins, in gratitude, invited them for dinner. As they sat around the table, sharing stories and laughter, a realization dawned on George. This neighborhood watch, this grumpy old man's reluctant duty, was not just about safety. It was about connection, camaraderie, and community. As they sat around the table sharing stories and laughter, George realized that perhaps the neighborhood watch was bringing them all closer together, even the grumpy old man himself. In the following days, George and Susan continued their patrols. Their flashlights became familiar beacons in the twilight, their presence a comforting reminder of the neighborhood's collective vigilance. But it wasn't just about safety. It became a cherished ritual, a chance for George and Susan to connect with their neighbors, to weave a tapestry of camaraderie and unity that transcended the boundaries of their own backyard. As they walked their familiar route, familiar faces would wave from porches, children would cheer from their bicycles, and even the most reserved of neighbors would offer a nod of acknowledgement. Each interaction, no matter how small, was a thread added to the fabric of their community, strengthening their collective resolve to protect and look out for one another. Meanwhile, George, our grumbling protagonist, was undergoing his own transformation. The once grumpy old man was now a watchful guardian, his grumbles replaced by shared laughter, and his isolation by a sense of belonging. He had become a figure of resilience, his commitment to the neighborhood watch symbolizing his acceptance of change and his newfound appreciation for unity. In the heart of this quiet, close-knit neighborhood, a transformation was unfolding. The neighborhood watch had not only brought safety, but also a sense of unity, turning strangers into neighbors and neighbors into friends. In Grumpy George's Chronicles, the neighborhood watch became a symbol of resilience, reminding everyone that even in the face of change, the power of connection and watchful eyes could turn a grumpy old man into a watchful guardian, ensuring that the spirit of their community remained unbroken.